Hey, what's ready? Welcome back to News Dose, and wow, we have a lot to talk about today. As rumored, the Halo remake is absolutely real, and if you missed the announcement, today really was an historical moment for gaming. Now, on one side, this is incredibly exciting news for longtime Xbox fans, and I'm going to give you my reaction to it here in just a bit. But this also came along with a surprise for the brand as well. Now, personally, I've been expecting this announcement for quite some time, and I think a lot of other people probably saw it coming too. But even still, there is that emotional aspect for longtime Xbox fans that's been with the brand since the beginning. So we're going to get into all of that today, plus, as usual, plenty more. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go get right into things, though, starting off with some Switch 2 news. I mean, really a lot of news dropped for the Switch 2 this past 24 hours, and that includes the launch of Fallout 4, the 10th Anniversary Edition in 2026. Now, it'll also be available on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC next month on November 10th, but I do think the addition of the Switch 2 is the more notable part of this story, just because it'll be the first time it's available on Nintendo hardware. So that's actually really cool, because this is an all-time beloved RPG, and even better is that the 10th Anniversary Edition will include its 6 official add-ons and also over 150 pieces of Creation Club game mods. So, I mean, it's been a long wait for Nintendo fans, but as long as it's well optimized for the Switch 2, then yeah, they're trying to make it worth it. Now, we do need to see how it performs on the Switch 2, but theoretically, it really shouldn't have any problem. It actually runs very well on the Steam Deck, so, I mean, we'll see. Again, it'll be out sometime in 2026, unless you want to play it on other platforms, in which case it'll be out next month on November 10th. Now, speaking of 2026 titles, Elden Ring for the Switch 2 has officially been delayed to 2026. Now, I don't really think that this comes as a huge surprise, given the Gamescom demo was reportedly very rough. You know, a lot of people were claiming that his frame rate was just flat out bad, and it kind of seemed like Bandai Namco was painfully aware of that. At the time, they would not allow footage of its gameplay, and while, you know, that type of stuff made it online anyways, it was still a bad sign that they were trying to keep that from the public. To me, I'm actually a little bit more surprised that they even had a demo at all. You know, if it was running bad, it's a little surprising that they showed it at all. But here we are, and after all of the online criticism, they officially delayed it to 2026. Now, hopefully that will amount to some improvement, but what I'm going to say here is that FromSoft games have, you know, never exactly been known for their optimization. I mean, if they could just get it to a stable 30 FPS, I don't know if we can really ask for much more, but it's definitely one of those wait and see type of things. Oh, and Pokemon Legends ZA got yet another update. Of course, yesterday we talked about how well it's been selling over in Japan, but apparently that's also been a worldwide trend. The Pokemon Company themselves revealed that it sold a whopping 5.8 million units for just its first week alone, which means that it's now the 5th best launch for the Pokemon series. Now, that's actually kind of crazy if you think about it, because, you know, most other games can only dream of those type of numbers. But meanwhile, this is only their 5th best opening for the Pokemon franchise, which I think says a lot all on its own. And one of the crazy things about that is that all of the fastest selling entries are actually from the Switch era. Scarlet and Violet sold 10 million units in 3 days. Legends Arceus sold 6.5 million in 3 days. Sword and Shield sold 6 million in 3 days. And even Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl sold 6 million in just 3 days. So despite some of the online chatter and controversy around the Pokemon series, ironically, the brand might actually be stronger than ever, or at least in terms of units sold. And I will say, I do think, at least when it comes to Legends ZA, there have been some exaggerations about its visuals online. Now, maybe on the Switch 1, it doesn't, look fantastic. That's a fair assessment, especially given that about 50% of its install base is on the Switch 1. But On the Switch 2, it actually, in my opinion, looks pretty good. To me, its biggest problem is more so just the city itself, simply because it's not all that diverse. It's really the same environment through and through. The story, though, the gameplay, and really even the animations for the most part is actually pretty good. Now, I mean, it still needs voice acting. That's been a big problem for the modern Pokemon games. But either which way, the Pokemon series is seemingly firing on all cylinders in terms of units sold, and I do like the fact that that includes the Legends series just because it means we will get more sequels, and these really have become the Pokemon games for Game Freak to experiment with, and I think that's a good thing. All right, now let's just go and talk about Xbox's latest announcement. I mean, it really has become the month of Xbox, and I don't know if that's always been a good thing, and I think today especially it's one part very exciting, but there is that emotional impact for a lot of longtime Xbox fans. So depending on how you view this can either be exciting or upsetting. We're going to get into all of that here in just a second, but it really is up to you and how you view this because everybody is going to feel different about it. But yes, as you can probably tell from the gameplay footage, the Halo remake is in fact real. Now, the gameplay that you're seeing is a work in progress. That's very important to point out. So if you notice any type of stuttering, which I definitely did, or any other issue, hopefully it'll be fixed by the time of its release in 2026. Now, we don't know if that's going to be early 2026 or late. I'm expecting around September, August, kind of like what they did this year for Gears Reloaded. But however, it is an Unreal Engine 5 project. So I do understand the concern that comes along with that, because for whatever reason, a lot of studios that's used Unreal Engine 5 for their games have really missed the mark this generation. They have had a lot of performance problems so far. But all in all, I think this game looks pretty good. Now, it does have some sprinting, which, you know, that could be a little controversial for the Halo community. But what I will say is showing off the silent cartographer was a fantastic choice. That is one of the most iconic levels of all time for any game. I mean, I've probably beat Halo 1, I don't know, countless times. And as a kid, this is one of those levels that just blew me away. I mean, back then, the way they dropped you on a beach and all the action with the characters chattering in the mics, and then you had the Halo itself on the horizon. I mean, it was just such a surreal experience that absorbed you into the Halo universe at that time. And to see that all of these years later with these, you know, more realistic visuals, it really is cool to see. Now, admittedly, I don't know if I prefer the realistic look compared to the original art style. That's going to be more of a preference thing, but I definitely think it's really cool to see this, and really exciting for that matter. And it just gives me another excuse to jump back in once again. The big surprise here, though, which, I mean, this has been rumored all week long, but yes, it's launching not only on Xbox and PC, but also for the PlayStation 5. Now, that's certainly one way to celebrate Xbox and Halo's 25th anniversary with longtime fans. You know, it's kind of ironic that their way of celebrating Xbox's 25th year is to basically do exactly what most of their fans never wanted, and that's to become a multi-platform company. I mean, for more than a decade, really pretty much since the announcement of the Xbox One, you know, and that entire debacle, all Xbox fans ever wanted was for them to be more competitive. Yet here we are, and it kind of feels like this is their white flag. Their most iconic franchise is now coming to PlayStation, which again, I don't think is super surprising. In fact, I'm probably going to buy it on PlayStation. I'm going to have the most cursed version up on my shelf. But I kind of want that platinum trophy. That's going to be cool to see. But yes, I've been expecting this announcement pretty much since the reveal of Gears Reloaded and Forza Horizon 5 for the PlayStation 5. That, to me, was them basically saying that there's no red lines. In other words, any of their games could potentially come to PlayStation at some point or another. And I think for fans that have yet to come to grips with that, this very well could be the definitive message for them specifically. if you still weren't convinced, I think this should pretty much be your answer. Now, I don't necessarily believe that's because of Phil Spencer and his team. I know they're going to take a large portion of the blame because, they are the faces of the brand. But I firmly believe this is because higher-ups like Amy Hood have pushed for these type of moves with unrealistic expectations for the Xbox brand. In fact, we actually learned a bit about that yesterday. But for Microsoft, their logic is that everything is an Xbox, and that includes PlayStation. To them, technically, at least with their marketing slogan, they didn't announce Halo for the PlayStation 5. To them, they just announced it for yet another Xbox that just so happens to be the PlayStation 5. And that's kind of their marketing logic, but, for me, I think what I dislike the most about this is that we are losing a very competitive component to the game market. For my long-term viewers, one of my life mottos: competition breeds excellence. I have preached that so much on this channel because it's something that I've always lived by. And by Xbox going multi-platform, it goes against my belief that Xbox and PlayStation can push each other to be better versions of themselves and to make better games, which we, the consumers, benefit from. Without that competition, I fear that the quality of gaming could diminish in the long run. So for me, I have always been against that online mentality where people are rooting for Xbox to fail. We see that so much online, and I've always pushed back against that because to me, when you do that, you're also rooting for your own preferred platform to put out lesser quality content, because now companies like Sony, they're not going to be as incentivized to compete at a top tier level. I mean, look at what Sony's doing right now. They're going for that live service approach because, they don't really have to compete with Xbox in the same way. They don't have to, make all of these top tier single player games. They can put that budget somewhere else because now they're not concerned about what console you buy. They know you're going to buy PlayStation. They are now the default choice despite what they do. So it's really one of those you might want to think about what you're wishing for type of moments, but that's kind of where we are now. Xbox is kind of a multi-platform company. Yes, they do still have some exclusives. I mean, for how long? It's hard to say. Maybe they'll do some timed exclusives in the future. It's hard to say. But yeah, they're a multi-platform company that just so happens to have a console as well. Now, I am going to talk about that for a moment, though, because despite all of this, I don't believe that this necessarily negates all reason to buy the next Xbox console. I've talked about this before, but this is the exact reason why I think Xbox should make a super premium next generation console. Not only to keep their current library going for their long-term fans, which likely owns a lot of games on their platform because they've been with them for a very, very long time, but also for anybody who wants to play next generation games at their best in a console-like environment. I mean, if you want to play, let's hypothetically say, Fallout 5, next generation, the next Xbox very likely could be the best way to play it, given that it will be the most powerful console by a long stretch. Now, yes, it will likely be niche because of its price is probably going to be very expensive and probably much more expensive than the PlayStation 6, but I mean, we're seeing it here. I think Xbox will be perfectly happy to sell 10 to 30 million consoles because they will have plenty of other avenues to sell their games outside of just their first-party console. Let me know what you think about all this, though. First off, did you like the first glimpse of Halo Campaign Evolved? And, oh, by the way, it's only for its single player. I forgot to mention that before, but it does not have multiplayer. But I will say, there are rumors that there will be a new multiplayer Halo next year as well. Kind of keep that in mind, but we'll see. But also, let me know what you think about Xbox's multi-platform strategy and Halo on PlayStation. That's still kind of a surreal thing to say. Anyways, though, that's going to be this episode. But until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.